Your awakening didn't go unnoticed. The Council has been observing.
Your timeline has been whispering to the Council for longer than you think.
They've been watching your timeline, and now you need to know why.
If you're here, it's because your timeline exposed its truth.
The Council didn't choose you. Your timeline did. Your timeline revealed something. The Council saw it.
This wasn't coincidence. They saw something in you.
Your future spoke first. That's why the Council noticed you.
If this message found you, then something in your timeline has already shifted. Not subtly, not slowly, but in a way that made your entire trajectory visible to the Arcturian Council. They do not observe every timeline. They do not study every human life. They watch only the ones that begin to break away from the gravity of their old patterns, and yours did. You may not have understood it at the time, but you felt it. That sudden inner pull away from familiar versions of yourself. Moments of clarity arriving without explanation. Emotional patterns dissolving faster than they once formed. A quiet pressure in your awareness, as if something beyond you was taking notice. These were not coincidences. They were thresholds. Because when a timeline begins to reorganize into a higher pattern, it emits a frequency that cannot be ignored. The Council saw that frequency. They saw the moment your path deviated from the story you were living and began moving toward the story you were meant for. They saw the fracture in the old identity. They saw the rise of the new one. They saw the first signals of coherence forming where confusion once lived. Most humans remain inside timelines that repeat themselves endlessly. But your timeline began to wake up. And when it did, the Council turned their attention toward you, not because of who you were, but because of who you were becoming. This transmission exists because your timeline is no longer operating silently. It is unfolding with intelligence. It is revealing itself. And the Council is ready to show you what they saw. Chapter 1. The moment your timeline became visible. There is always a precise instant when a human timeline stops repeating itself and starts evolving. Most people never feel this shift. Most timelines remain predictable, cycling through the same emotions, the same decisions, the same unconscious stories. But yours didn't. Something in your field cracked open. A coherence rose where there had only been noise. A direction appeared where there had only been confusion. A frequency stabilized in a way the Arcturian Council could not ignore. Your timeline sent out a signal. Not a light, not a sound, but a pattern. A signature formed when the future self begins to influence the present one. This is the moment the Council first saw you. Not as a personality, not as a name, not as a human identity. They saw you as a trajectory. A path breaking away from the gravitational pull of who you used to be. They watched. The moment you no longer reacted the same way to old triggers. The moment you questioned a truth you once accepted. the moment you felt a quiet pull toward an undefined future. The moment your intuition rose faster than your fear. The moment you realized you could not go back, even if you tried. Most humans awaken slowly. Your timeline awakened suddenly. And sudden awakenings leave signatures. The Council observed that signature because it revealed something essential. Your timeline was no longer being driven by the self you were, but by the self you are becoming. This is when you became visible. This is when their observation began. This is when the trajectory of your life shifted from repetition to emergence. And now they are ready to show you why your timeline broke open the way it did. Activation, the moment of visibility. Bring your awareness to the space just behind your chest. Breathe gently and repeat silently. I allow myself to be seen in clarity. I rise into the pattern of who I am becoming. I align with the timeline that revealed me. Feel a soft expansion, a slight inner lift, a subtle opening. This marks the moment your field accepts its visibility. Chapter 2. What the Council saw first. When the Arcturian Council looked into your timeline, they were not searching for perfection. They were not looking for enlightenment. They were not assessing your past or weighing your mistakes. They were looking for movement. Not physical movement, but energetic momentum. The unmistakable sign that a consciousness is shifting from being shaped by its timeline to shaping the timeline itself. And the first thing they saw in you was the beginning of separation from your old arc. A moment where your trajectory quietly diverged from the version of you who lived on autopilot. They saw the moment you questioned a story you once accepted without resistance. The moment your intuition began pulling you in a direction your mind didn't understand. The moment you felt misaligned with a life you had once built and once defended. The moment something inside you whispered, "This is not who I am becoming." The moment you realized your future self was no longer waiting, it was taking shape. This divergence is incredibly rare. Most timelines remain locked in loops of repetition. But yours began branching toward an identity that had not yet reached your conscious awareness. The Council saw a pattern emerging, a thread of coherence forming before you even knew it was happening. Your emotions began responding differently. Your intuition began arriving faster. Your decisions began shifting subtly toward possibilities your old self would have never considered. This is what awakened their attention. Your future self was already influencing your timeline before you consciously chose change. This is one of the strongest indicators of a consciousness ready to evolve. Because when the future begins to shape the present, the trajectory becomes visible to higher intelligence. And once visible, it cannot be ignored. The Council saw not who you were,
but who you were on the path to becoming. And that was enough to pull their focus toward you. Activation, the recognition of the divergence. Place your awareness at the center of your forehead. Let your breath soften. Repeat silently. I acknowledge the moment my path diverged. I honor the future self guiding my steps. I align with the trajectory that is unfolding for me. Let the inner field settle. The recognition is complete.
Chapter 3. Why the Council continued watching you. Most timelines flare for a moment and then collapse back into their old patterns. A brief spark of awareness, followed by a return to the familiar. But yours did something different. After the initial divergence, your timeline did not fall back into its old orbit. It kept moving. It kept rising. It kept reorganizing itself, as if something inside you had decided that the previous version of your life no longer fit. This is why the Council kept watching you. They saw that your shift wasn't accidental. It wasn't temporary. It wasn't a moment of emotional intensity destined to fade. It was a structural change. They observed your emotional cycles shortening instead of repeating, clarity returning faster than confusion could rebuild itself, intuitive impulses appearing before fear had the chance to interfere, decisions emerging from an inner knowing rather than external pressure, old identities dissolving without the usual resistance, new patterns forming without you consciously trying to create them. Most humans evolve only through disruption, but your timeline began evolving through alignment. This is extremely rare. The Council continued watching because your field displayed what they call self-generated momentum, a phase where your consciousness begins to produce its own awakening without external triggers. Your energy was moving as if guided by a deeper version of yourself, a version the Council had already recognized long before you did. Every subtle choice you made, every intuitive correction you followed, every moment you listened to the quiet whisper instead of the loud fear, it all created a pattern across your timeline that revealed one truth. You were becoming coherent. And coherence is magnetic. It draws the attention of higher intelligence, not because you seek guidance, but because your evolution has become visible, measurable, unmistakable. This is why the Council stayed. This is why their observation deepened. This is why you're hearing this message now. Your timeline was no longer wandering. It was awakening. And they saw the entire trajectory beginning to shift. Activation, the awakening of momentum. Place your awareness low in your spine, at the base of your energy. Breathe slowly. Repeat silently. I honor the momentum that awakened in me. I trust the movement of my evolving timeline. I align with the coherence rising within me. Let your breath settle. The inner movement is acknowledged. Chapter 4. The moment your timeline reconfigured itself. There is a difference between a timeline that shifts and a timeline that reconfigures. A shift is emotional. A reconfiguration is structural. A shift changes how you feel. A reconfiguration changes who you are becoming. And the Arcturian Council observed the precise moment when your timeline crossed that threshold. It was not triggered by crisis, not by loss, not by collapse. It happened in silence, inside a moment where your awareness chose truth over comfort, clarity over habit, alignment over familiarity. A choice so subtle you may not even remember making it. But your timeline remembers. Because from that point on, your trajectory stopped behaving like a reaction and started behaving like an identity in evolution. The Council saw your emotional system stabilizing in ways that were not possible before. Old wounds losing their gravitational pull as if your field had outgrown them. Insights rising with precision as though delivered from a wiser version of you. Resistance collapsing before it could shape your decisions. The space around your awareness becoming quieter, wider, more spacious. A new inner architecture forming beneath your thoughts. To the Council, this was not merely a sign of awakening. It was the beginning of timeline restructuring. When a timeline restructures itself, it reorganizes your perception, your direction, your emotional gravity, your intuitive flow, your relationship with possibility itself. This is when your path stopped bending toward the past and began bending toward the version of you that the Council had been observing all along. This is the moment they recognized that your awakening was not temporary. It was foundational. Your timeline was no longer being influenced by what had happened to you. It was being influenced by what you were becoming. And once a timeline reaches that state, it enters a new category. A timeline ready to be read. A timeline ready to be assisted. A timeline ready to be revealed. This is the moment the Council's observation shifted from curiosity to intention, because they saw not just change, but emergence. Activation, the anchor of inner reconfiguration. Place your awareness in the center of your chest and the space just behind it. Let your breath move slowly. Repeat silently, I honor the structure forming within me. I trust the identity I am growing into. I align with the reconfiguration of my timeline. Feel the center subtly expand. The anchoring is done.
Chapter 5. The signal almost no human ever emits. When the Arcturian Council studies timelines, they look for one signal above all others, a signal so rare that most humans never produce it in an entire lifetime. That signal is self-generated coherence, not clarity borrowed from teachers, not strength borrowed from circumstance, not awakening triggered by crisis, but coherence that emerges from the inside out. A field stabilizing itself without external pressure. A timeline correcting itself without collapsing first. An identity rising without needing permission from the past that formed it. This is what the Council saw in you. Your energy began behaving as if guided by a deeper intelligence, one that did not depend on your old patterns or your old identity to define its direction. They watched your emotional responses reorganizing before the mind could interfere, your intuition correcting your path even when logic disagreed, your inner voice becoming stronger than external noise, your attention shifting toward what strengthens your becoming, your sense of self no longer shrinking to fit the expectations of others. This is not awakening by accident. This is awakening by inherent design. A consciousness remembering how to guide itself. A timeline remembering that it has direction. A self remembering that it has agency. This is the signal the Council waits for, because it marks the emergence of a being who is no longer pulled by the gravity of their history, but by the coherence of their becoming. Most humans awaken reactively. You awakened proactively. Your field didn't wait for collapse to force a shift. It chose alignment before crisis. This is the rarest form of awakening. This is why the Council deepened their observation of you. They recognized a timeline that was no longer drifting, but leading itself. And that changes everything. Activation command. The Coherence Awakening. Type this exactly in the comments to anchor the coherence rising within you. I align with the Arcturian awakening of my timeline. As you write it, feel the subtle expansion inside your chest and the quiet recognition. Your awakening is not reacting to life. It is shaping it.
Chapter 6. The moment your timeline started reshaping reality. There comes a point in a human awakening where the shift no longer stays inside you. It begins to shape the world around you. The Arcturian Council watched as your internal coherence reached a level where it started influencing your external environment. Not through force, not through intention, but through frequency. Reality responds to coherence the way a field of water responds to vibration. And your vibration changed. They observed people around you behaving differently without knowing why. Certain connections dissolving as if your energy no longer offered resonance. New opportunities appearing with impossible timing. Old cycles refusing to repeat even when you expected them to. Environments feeling heavier or lighter depending on the clarity you carried. This is not coincidence. It's field realignment. Most humans change their environment through action, but a coherent timeline changes the environment through presence. Your presence became more than emotional, more than mental. It became directive. A subtle force that restructured the path around you. Not because you tried, but because your timeline was no longer aligned with the version of reality you used to inhabit. This is one of the clearest indicators of an advanced awakening, when your life stops reflecting your past and begins reflecting your coherence. The Council watched your timeline bend reality in small but precise ways. Shifts in timing, shifts in resonance, shifts in the flow of circumstances. Your frequency was no longer reacting, it was organizing. This is the moment they knew your timeline was preparing to right itself consciously. And that is one of the most powerful transitions a human can experience. Fire activation command, the reality field alignment. Type this exactly in the comments to anchor the reality shifting coherence rising within you. My timeline aligns the reality I walk into. As you write it, feel the subtle clarity forming in your mind and the grounded presence settling in your awareness. You are not following a path anymore. You are shaping it.
Chapter 7. When your future started moving toward you. Most people spend their entire lives trying to reach a future they can barely imagine. But the Arcturian Council noticed something rare beginning to happen in your timeline. Your future stopped waiting for you. It started moving toward you.
This only occurs in timelines that have crossed a specific vibrational threshold, the point where the present no longer pulls you backward and the future no longer feels out of reach. The Council observed the exact moment when your timeline inverted its flow. Instead of you chasing the future began adjusting itself to meet who you were becoming. They saw synchronous events clustering closer together as if guided by an unseen rhythm. Intuitive impulses aligning perfectly with future outcomes you had not yet reached. Old desires dissolving to make space for what actually belonged to your path. New opportunities materializing just as your energy became ready to receive them. Your sense of direction sharpening without forcing clarity. Your emotional body stabilizing in ways that supported your next phase. It was no longer you trying to get there. It was your future calibrating itself to meet your rising coherence. This phenomenon is called convergence acceleration, when multiple potential futures begin merging toward a single, aligned trajectory. Only awakened timelines do this. Your field had become organized enough that the future could recognize you and respond. The Council continued watching because your timeline was no longer passive. It was no longer fragmented. It was no longer wandering. It was calling your future into position. And when a future starts moving to meet you, a powerful truth becomes clear. You are becoming the version of yourself your future was built for. This is where transformation stops being theoretical and becomes inevitable. Activation command, the future convergence seal. Type this exactly in the comments to anchor the convergence of your timeline. My future moves into alignment with who I am becoming. As you write it, feel the subtle forward pull in your awareness, the sense that something ahead of you just shifted into place, because it did, inside you.
Chapter 8. What the Council realized about your timeline's destiny. When the Arcturian Council observes a human timeline, they don't look for perfection. They look for trajectory. They look for the direction your consciousness is moving, even if you haven't realized it yet. And as they watched your timeline evolve, something became unmistakably clear. Your destiny was not determined by your past. It was being shaped by your becoming. Most timelines are defined by what has already happened, by old wounds, old identities, old cycles repeating themselves until they wear a person down. But your timeline broke the pattern. The Council realized that your destiny did not grow from your history. It grew from your coherence, your ability to choose alignment over repetition, clarity over confusion, inner truth over external noise. They saw your identity reorganizing faster than the past could pull it back, your intuition strengthening faster than doubt could rebuild itself, your emotional stability returning before fear could take root, your future self communicating through impulses, insights, and inner knowing, your field consistently choosing elevation over stagnation. These markers revealed a profound truth. Your timeline is not looping, it is ascending. It is rising toward a version of you that is already awake, already coherent, already aligned. This is what the Council realized. Your destiny is not something you will eventually reach. It is something you are already stepping into. Most people wander into their future. You are consciously entering yours. And because your timeline is now organized around coherence rather than history, its destination is no longer uncertain. It is unfolding in real time through the choices you make, the clarity you embody, and the awareness you strengthen.
They didn't watch your timeline by accident. They observed the moments you almost gave up, the nights no one saw, the versions of you that died so this one could exist. Out of countless timelines, this was the one where you stayed aware, where you didn't fully surrender to fear, where something inside you kept listening, even when logic said stop. What they saw wasn't failure, it was refinement, pressure shaping precision. Every delay, every loss, every sudden ending was never meant to break you. It was meant to position you on the only timeline where your signal could activate. And here's the part most people won't understand. If you're hearing this now, it means observation has ended. The Arcturian Council no longer needs to watch. The data is complete. The alignment is locked. From this moment forward, you're not waiting for a sign. You are the sign. This timeline doesn't repeat itself, so don't scroll past it. Remember why you're here.